Hello everyone, and welcome to another bonus edition of 5 Facts. Today we're looking at the 1978 slasher classic Halloween. Somehow it ended up being one of the only movies named Halloween at that time, and it turned into a huge financial success and a full-on classic. Enough about all that, let's get to the facts. Fact number 1, shooting a fall movie in California gets weird. The movie was shot in 20 days in Pasadena, California during springtime, despite being set in the Midwest in a fictional town. This led to some strange issues, such as having to hand paint leaves for various scenes. Production designer Tommy Lee Wallace had to spread these leaves out every time they were doing an outside shoot, rake them up and recollect them afterwards, because they didn't have time to make a whole bunch of them. Also, it's pretty hard to find a pumpkin in California in the springtime, so that was its own set of challenges. John Carpenter wanted to color the trees, but didn't have the time or the budget to do so. In fact, if you look closely, you can actually see some palm trees in the background of this. While we're on the subject of short productions, being that this was only 20 days, John Carpenter did the entire score of the film in 3 days, including the iconic Halloween theme. It was based on a simple drumming exercise for bongos that he had learned from his father. Fact number 2, Michael Myers was almost in a clown mask. By now, most people know that the mask used in Halloween is a whitewashed version of Captain Kirk from Star Trek. It was based on a face cast of William Shatner at the time. What most people don't know is that it was a choice between this and a Weary Willie mask that was made popular by actor Emmett Kelly. This mask was, well, you can see it to the side, it's a very different tone than what would have been used for Halloween. This would actually make a lot of sense considering that Myers at the very beginning of the film was in a clown costume. But they had the choice between a couple $2 masks and they decided to go with the Shatner one. Some modifications were put on this mask, such as getting rid of the sideburns, recoloring the hair, spray painting it white, and widening the eyes. That was the main thing that sold him on this mask, is that it was just a very dead-eyed look whenever he put the mask on. The original cast for this mask has actually been stolen or misplaced. If you have one of the original ones from the DPS company, it's worth a lot of money at auction or on eBay. Fact number 3. 4 different actors played Mike Myers in this film. Most of Michael's scenes are played by John Carpenter's friend from college, Nick Castle. Nick Castle would actually end up working with Carpenter a lot more. They co-wrote Escape from New York together, and he would go on to direct a lot of other movies like Major Payne. In this film, he's credited as the Shape, since it was his frame that made up most of the shots, and it was kind of an indistinguishable character. They barely even said the name Mike Myers throughout the whole thing, so it was kind of cool to have them give it that sort of credit. Originally, Castle just wanted to be on the set for filming, just to check it out, but Carpenter nudged him into the role. Stuntman James Winburn took a shot with the mask as well whenever more physical stunts were needed, such as falling off of balconies and things of that nature. Occasionally, he was played by production designer Tommy Lee Wallace for reshoots when Castle couldn't be on the set. His actual face was done by 23-year-old Tony Moran. It's only seen very, very briefly whenever he's unmasked towards the end of the movie. Moran made $250 for his one appearance and would go on to do some guest spots in other TV, but not a whole lot. It actually looks like from his IMDb that he's getting into more horror movies now as he gets older. Fact number 4. Virginity and Chaste are not the way to defeat Michael Myers. One of the more known tropes from slasher movies is that the virgin is usually the one to survive, the final girl type thing. Often this is a commentary on purity and morals. John Carpenter claims that this was not the point of the film or a way to defeat Michael Myers. It was just that the other people were too busy getting laid to defend themselves like Jamie Lee Curtis did. Carpenter even went so far as to say, the one girl who is the most sexually uptight just keeps stabbing the guy with the long knife. She's the most sexually frustrated. She's the one that's killed him, not because she's a virgin, but because all that sexually repressed energy starts coming out. She uses all those phallic symbols on the guy. That might be a little bit of a cop-out, but I kind of like the idea. Fact number 5. People often saw what they wanted when Myers was unmasked, not what was filmed. For years after Halloween was released, people would tell John Carpenter how horrified they were by Michael Myers' grotesquely disfigured face, glimpsed very shortly when Laurie pulls his mask off. But actually what they saw was an ordinary face of the actor Tony Moran playing the role, perfectly normal except for a small wound inflicted by Laurie during their struggle in the closet, which was created using special effects makeup. Carpenter cites this as evidence of the power of suggestion in cinema, that the audience saw a monster on screen, so they assumed that he must look like a monster underneath the mask. I'm sure they also saw this in a lot of other horror movies at the time, where anytime somebody was unmasked, it was a complete mess. You look at Jason, which was actually filmed later than this, and it's about what you expect. Disfigurement, burns, all that sort of thing. So having a clean-faced person in this was kind of an interesting way to subvert that. Halloween is a beautiful little piece of the slasher genre, though it really lacks blood and gore compared to its sequels. It still has some shocking murders and a menacing feel that many movies from this time couldn't match. Rewatching it today doesn't have the same impact from when I was a kid, but I've been desensitized with a lot of graphic violence. Even like newer ones like Netflix's Gerald's Game have a lot more grotesque violence in this. The kills are surgical and clean, which separates it from many of the visceral gore fests we've gotten used to in slasher movies. Is this the best slasher to go back to? Maybe not, but there is a reason why it's a Halloween classic. Tell me about the first time you saw it. Were you really spooked? Was this something that you were laughing at while having popcorn? Were you trying to get laid like the teenagers in that? I want to know more about what your first viewing of Halloween was like, as well as any other thoughts you'd like to share about the movie. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for checking out all the other 5 Facts videos we put out during the month of October. It's been a really good month for this sort of stuff. We put a lot of bonus content out for you. And for all horror fans, October is always a good time. So thank you very much for that. I hope you guys have an excellent week. If you like this, hit like, hit shares, just put it out there for your friends, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast.